This conference will now be recorded.
That's better than middle of the winter fever. Everybody just muddy and unhappy. I mean, good Lord. Yeah, see, I'm not, trust me. No, you're doing fine. We've got a lot of urgent matters to discuss, but take your time. It's fine, no big deal. Good Lord. Let's start with the pledge and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Dustin.
Mr. Chairman, I, Dustin Dawson, hereby move to permit Supervisor Yao to attend the April 22nd, 2025 meeting of Madison County Board of Supervisors remotely pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3708.2, the Section 2.4F of the bylaws of the Madison County. Mr. Yao is attending from his home. Supervisor Yao is unable to attend the meeting currently scheduled for April 22nd, 2025 in person because of previously scheduled medical personal commitment. This is the first meeting Vice Chairman Yao will attend remotely this calendar year.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, Cardi, All right, we do have. Yeah,
Yeah, I vote aye, yes.
good. Get it?
I'm here.
Excellent. We do have a quorum. We do need to adopt an agenda. Anybody have anything we need to add to the agenda this evening? Anything? What's the
I'll
pleasure
get
of
a
the
minute,
board?
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
I second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
There you go. Public comment. General public comment. Come on up, Bruce.
Yeah, I'm not on the agenda, but I wanted to remind
Is
you,
yours? That's the-
board, that we had a, new Ridge Committee meeting on May 15th, to be able to meet the new superintendent. The topic has changed. We're now gonna talk about how to survive the upcoming bad times. As the budget is being cut, personnel is being cut. So just, if you have any issues or comments you want to pass on to the Park Service, please, let me or Judd know, and we'll be sure to pass that on.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Judd, you have any comments on that?
Am I riding with you, Bruce?
Sorry,
Am I riding with you up there?
I'm gonna buy you dinner this time.
Mr. Chairman,
That,
I have not sent a letter yet. I talked to Bruce and I think Mr. Ballard about having a superintendent. We have not scheduled that. I don't know if you would like the members pass along, or I can send an official letter, but it would be nice to have the superintendent come to your meeting, because we have not met the superintendent since was selected for that position.
Be an appropriate time to let Judd, meet him and invite him to come to Madison.
Be happy
And
to.
always pick on Judd, I'd like for you to do the public comments about any news from Madison County.
Sure will.
You did a great job at the last meeting. Thank you.
You got it. Thank you.
That's pretty good, acclaim there, Judd. Hey, thank you for representing us well. Thank you, Bruce. Other public comment?
And I think Mr. Buchanan's going to deny that dinner request in
No.
consideration with the gift policy, unless Mr. Bruce is going to offer that dinner to everyone in the community. Just kidding.
He
All
was
right,
a
thank
very
you.
generous fellow, but thank you, Hannon. I was bringing it down. Other public comment. Other public comment. All right, we're going to do it 2 more times. We do have consent agenda. We have minutes from 3/27/2025, 4/02/2025, 4/03/2025. Well, we're meeting too much. 4/07/2025 and 4/08/2025. And then we've got.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Supervisor Yao, I would like to have the minutes listed under 1A and B pulled out of the consent agenda and voted separately, since I'll have to abstain on those, as I was absent for those meetings.
Is that a motion?
Yes, sir.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve A and B separately from the consent agenda. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same
Aye.
sign. And you abstain, Cardy?
Yeah, I abstain from approving those minutes, yes.
Sir. We do have C and then a supplemental appropriation number 23. And that's a school board request for $447,098. What's the pleasure of the board?
The supplemental appropriation, is that from a grant they got or just transfer over?
It's several different grants.
They had, so one of those, the largest is a grant, or it was funds provided by the state, I guess you call it a grant. The All in Virginia funds is the $300-some thousand number you see. They had an insurance claim, and then the other was some, for some textbooks, which that would pull from the fund balance. I think that was an FY24 turn back request.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve consent agenda item 1C and 2.
Second.
All right, motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
All right. We do have several special appearances. Firefly, Mr. Wood, Ms. Creekmore, please. Thank you for being here.
All right, well, thank you for giving us the opportunity to come and talk a little bit about our project and give you an update. I do have Galen to give me any details that I may miss. I know he works pretty constantly trying to make sure we're answering all the questions and things up here. Let's look at a quick snapshot of the project. The blue areas on this map are in the phase of construction we term as in service. That does not mean that everybody in those areas who's requested service has been connected, but that means all of the fiber in that area has been placed and that we are splicing and are connecting in that area. In the green area, fiber is being placed. So that's where the crews are stringing new fiber on the poles. All of the make-ready work has been done. So the first step when we go to aerial construction is for Rappahannock Electric to have contractors in and move things around on the pole and put in some new poles. All of that's been finished, and the fiber crews are in there now building fiber in that green area. The oranges area is where we still have make-ready work going on. In some cases, that's make-ready engineering. In some cases, we have the crews already doing make-ready construction. But the residents there should see people in pickups or trucks moving through the area, stopping at poles, the engineering folks first through, and then soon after the contractors. And let me pause here and say Rappahannock has done a really terrific job partnering with us on this project. And we had to learn each other a little bit when we started it a couple of years ago, but Rappahannock has really gotten up to speed. They're just doing a super job coordinating with us. They're pushing us in cases like that orange area is in our newest. It's actually, we'll look at it in a second, but it's a different phase of construction, but it's right next to some work we were already doing. And Rappahannock said, hey, we finished this, let us go. Let's get moving. While we're here in the area, we want to turn the troops loose. And so they've done just a really good job. So this is what we have as far as our status for the different areas in Madison. The next slide shows you where the funding comes from for these areas and gives you a little bit of an idea. We talk about a quilt-like approach. We had a VOTI 2022 grant that covered a portion of the county, that bluish, light purple type area. Then at the time, Brightspeed had claimed that it was going to provide service in that yellowish area. They'd gotten a federal grant from the FCC to build that, so we pulled it out of the blue area. We'd asked to build it. The state said we couldn't because Brightspeed had contested it. We pulled it out. Brightspeed then decided they weren't going to build it. It got put back in, and the funding came in, but we are actually still signing. I don't have signed paperwork yet for that. I can't submit reimbursement requests for that area. That didn't stop us. We've actually finished the construction in the area. We asked for permission to go ahead and start construction because it takes a while to get contracts through sometimes in government agencies. So the fiber construction finished, and we're actually connecting folks in parts of that yellow area, but the funding goes back into that one large VOTI 2022 project. Then the red area is VOTI 2024. So VOTI is the Virginia Telecommunications Initiative. That's the state grant area. I should have said that. That's what that mnemonic stands for. And in 2024, we got an additional grant that covered the rest of those red areas. Part of the reason they weren't included in the blue areas was the definition of broadband changed. So going back to 2022, it was anybody who didn't have at least 25 megabit per second download and 3 megabit per second upload was defined as unserved. Last year in 2024, it was anybody who didn't have 100 megabit per second download. So pretty much everybody who doesn't have cable service should be in one of these. Cable is the only thing that meets the qualification now for broadband other than fiber. So that tells you a little bit about the way that the funding comes. The funding doesn't matter to residents. It shouldn't matter. Some of the lines go in and out of these areas, and we're really building it like one big project. So you'll see that the areas on the previous slide we have some areas that are in 2024 funding that we've already completed, because when we go through an area, we just build an area out. We internally will manage the piece for requesting the funds from the right grant. But that's just a quick look at those. All right, next slide. Here's an update. Make-ready construction is 100% now complete in the Decapolis area for the 2022 grant area. We've put our last hut in place up at Decapolis at the Rappahannock Decapolis substation. And fiber construction is going on fast in that section of the county with splicing to follow. The make-ready work is underway up in that northwestern area, and it's moving pretty quickly up there. Then we're making connections in what we call our Pratt's area, which is everything else in that first blue area. We've got most all of the splicing done, and we're doing connections on all of the different circuits there. So going all the way over from the Orange County line, down along the Greene County line, and up along and around the town a little bit. So that's a quick snapshot of where we are. We've got 480 active locations. You see the little approximate thing there. This changes daily. We're connecting people daily. It might be 475, it might be 495, but we're somewhere around there. That's not really important. The important thing is we've got a lot. We've got a lot more to go. We're moving pretty quickly now. We have a good team here. The Vadi 2022 area, we're going to end up in front of 3,700. You can see that went up when we added the Brightspeed area back in. It was 3,020. We're assuming about a 60% take rate, which will put us 2,200 connected. Then that Vadi 2024 area, we're in front of another 1,270. If you assume it's the same take rate, that's another mid-700s. So we'll end up in front of about 5,000 homes with about 6,000 connected by the time we're finished. When you look at that in the 480, it doesn't seem like we're doing much, but all of that other work has to come ahead. So we're at a point where we'll start seeing connections pretty quickly. Across our system, we're doing about 220, 250 connections a week. We've moved more of those teams into this area, so the pace is picking up in Madison because we've got more splicing and we have room for those folks to run a little bit. So that's a quick snapshot. If anybody, any of your constituents want information on their specific projects, if they go to our website at fireflyva.com, there's a drop-down menu that's at the top of the page called Projects, and then there's a choice to say search your county. You can choose Madison County, and then you can get the specific area of each project. And those chevrons or those little arrowed areas tell them what phase of the project they're in. And we keep that updated about every 2 weeks. So if anybody's interested, they can look there and find out what we're doing in their area. All right. The other thing they can do on the website, if they aren't sure they're in the project, is check availability. And you get this screen, which if you put your address in, you're in. We tell you congratulations, you can get service and allow you to sign up. All right. Next slide. That's a real quick run through. Any questions about specifics about our project or about fiber internet or about Galen's new baby?
Congratulations. Questions?
I have a few,
Please.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Jim.
Couple of things. And the first question is to follow up on the availability. Down in Woodbury Forest School, where that part of the county's on Dominion Power and not
Yes.
REC, Firefly's covering that, correct?
Yes, if it is an unserved location, we will go off the Rappahannock poles and build out underground into the Dominion areas and cover that.
Okay.
So, and I do believe those are covered for the most part.
Woodbury is in that,
Green.
Decapolis, Lucas, Dale area of Green. I've actually looked that up before.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The other question is, one of your crews has been down in my area for about 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
And they've been stringing the fiber up on the electric lines. Anyway, last week, the crew leader stopped by my house and asked for permission to park his equipment on my property, which I said was fine. Evidently, he's been parking across the road, and I won't say on whose property, but he found a nasty note on his truck telling him to get out, and if he didn't leave, they're going to call the sheriff. He was asking me who I thought would write it. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But anyway, there was no call for it because I know that your crews are very respectful, and there was absolutely no justification for someone to write that note. So anyway, he's on my place, and I told him, you stay there until the project's done because we all want it. We want it done. Now, I had a question for him because part of the cable runs don't make any sense to me. You know, you've got the loop drops wherever, usually at a transformer. One of the houses on my home farm, there is no loop to where that house is. But however, they did put a loop at one of the barns, which there's not going to be internet there, and they also put a loop in the middle of a field somewhere, and there's not going to be anything there. And he said that was just the blueprints, and they were following. So I don't know why that was done or how that can be remedied. Particularly, I'd like to have fiber at that one house.
So we will serve the house. We don't necessarily put a loop at every house because in some cases, we judge that we can run what we call our service drop cable or service extension, and that can run further than the low voltage electric lines. So we like to be within about 200 to 600 feet to get the secondary 240 volt electric lines. Fiber, we can run up to 2,500 feet. So it may be back down 3 or 4 poles away is where we put our splice point for a house, and then we will just run that lower, the cheaper cable over instead of necessarily running the loop at every house. So that is one of the things that, and then there's less splice points, that saves us a little bit. But I can assure you, every house that wants service will get service. In terms of the one in the middle of the field, I'm just guessing. There may be a couple of reasons for that, but one of the reasons may be that's where we've finished out a reel of wire and a reel of cable, and we just loop the two together, and they've got to come in and do what we call a butt splice, to splice one end to the other. Where that's most likely if it's really not near anything. Sometimes when you're just standing watching them, it doesn't make sense. There is a rhyme and reason. System works. We've got 37,000 people connected, but sometimes when you look at it, it doesn't make sense. Right. And by the way, I appreciate your offering to allow the contractors. We do have a really, really good set of contractors, and they have been working really fast and across a lot of area. And we started the project by telling them, folks who are on electric co-op lines are happy. When you finish, they need to be the same way. So treat people with respect, close gates. Don't leave ruts, and if something happens and you're there a wet day and you leave it, let's fix it. And they've done a really, really good job. We've had very, very few long-term complaints. Having said that, some people are sensitive, and I appreciate that you've given us a way to work around the sensitive folks.
Other questions? Go ahead.
I'm asking this for Cardi, up in Etlin. How long before we get up in that Valley 2024 area?
So we're building the make-ready now. The crews that are building the fiber in green on that last slide will be not far behind when the make-ready crews are complete. So it's a Valley 2024 project. Officially, that goes into next year is what the overall schedule for that is. But we're not going by that schedule. We're going to go in as soon as we can put crews on those lines, as soon as those make-ready crews finish. And we won't necessarily wait for that entire area to be finished. This is another place where Rappahannock has done a good job of prioritizing and placing crews. So they'll build those main lines so that while they're working the smaller taps, our fiber crews are already building fiber on the main line. So we'll coordinate it pretty closely and get there as quickly as we can. It's tough for me to give you an exact date, but we're working on it.
But if a resident asks me, it's going to be like 2026, though, right? Probably.
Well, 2026 is the final date for that entire project. Again, for the Valley 2024 project. But I would expect this area, I hate to say it because somebody's going to call me one day and say, you said it would be by such and such. But I really would anticipate before year end, I mean, we're in May. It's probably going to be late summer by the time they finish up there. It's a pretty good amount of make ready. And then the fiber go on by into fall and maybe connections by year end. If not, first quarter of
Be
next
close.
year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to give people,
Yeah, it shouldn't be late next year because we're already in that area.
okay, thanks.
Don't worry, this is not VDOT. No, I don't have a question or anything, but I do. I was worried which way Jim was gonna go, but I've talked to a bunch of your crews, and they couldn't. We expect it from REC. They've set such an example. Y'all and it's multiple crews, and they are all, could not be nicer, courteous.
They're excellent.
Thinking about personal property. I mean, I have nothing negative, and nobody's complaining to me, so that's a real win all the way across the board. We really,
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
No, great job. Thank you.
Cardi, I think, had some.
Cardi, you have a question?
I do, Mr. Chairman. This is Supervisor Yao, Mr. Wood. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm up in Etlin, and I've been talking to folks since we got a letter about 2 weeks ago that was very encouraging to everybody up here about what the schedule kind of looked like, which you have just now iterated. But then I've been getting some questions, and I know, Mr. Wood, I've heard you speak enough to know that you will not badmouth some other internet provider. But what I want to be able to tell these people is what's fiber versus any kind of satellite connection typically are the upload and download speeds better with fiber than satellites overall?
The short answer is yes. And
Okay.
if you heard me talk, I don't talk in short answers, so let me give you a little more.
Okay.
So fiber, our fiber to the home, when we tell you you have a 100 megabit service, if you run a speed test, you're going to see 100 megabit. And if you run it at the peak time at night when everybody's on, you're going to get 100 megabit. And if you upload, it's 100 megabit, and if you download, 100 megabit. And if you buy gigabit service, it shows up just a little less because there's some what they call overhead, the way it runs through the router. So you're going to see 940 to 960 megabits per second, but it's going to be that. And that's from the router if you connect to the router. Now, if you go off on wireless inside the house, we can talk about that, but that's what's being delivered to your house. And it's there full-time, all time. If you have a satellite connection, satellite connections have shared bandwidth in that the upstream and downstream is limited per satellite for how much they can send in a bundle in a compressed state. When they first put up new constellations of satellites, the speeds will be pretty good because the first people on will be the first ones on the interstate. There's not a lot of traffic. As they sell more services, they'll stay fairly good, but then you'll notice during the peak times when it might slow down a little bit. So when you talk to satellite providers, they tend to give you ranges. They'll say you can expect 50 to 100 megabit service from us. Or you can expect 150 to 250 megabit service from us. And that's about as fast as the low orbit satellites go. That's pretty quick for satellite service. If you go to the older satellites that are further up in the sky, their speeds are sometimes a little slower and their congestion's a little more. The other thing that happens is the speed of the connection. Most people don't really care about ping rates and how quickly the signal's moving. But if you are a gamer and you want your move to show up on the other side, then our fiber pings at about 2 to 4 milliseconds. A ping off of a low orbit satellite will be about 30 to 60 milliseconds, and a ping from a really high satellite will be 200 milliseconds. That's at the kind of the peak times. So if you send something, it gets there pretty quick. It's hard to move faster than the speed of light, and that's what fiber is. Anything going through the air, the fastest radio wave can't move that fast. So there is a little bit of difference. Satellite also has more upfront costs because you've got to buy your infrastructure with your little satellite dish setup. So it's normally a few $100s to get the system. And then typically we've seen that their pricing is a little higher. They can be competitive if they try to be really aggressive. Our rates started in 2018 at $50 for 100 megabit service and $80 for gigabit service, and today it's 50 and 80. And we make a really thin margin on that, but that's a really competitive rate. There's no upfront cost if you sign up while we're in the area. There's no charge to get connected. We provide the router. You don't have to buy a router. So it's a pretty competitive service that we think also wins on speed. And the other thing that happens is if you have a problem with your internet service and call, we answer the phone in Palmyra and put a guy in the truck that probably lives in your area or somewhere close by. And we're actually will be expanding the number of folks who work for us, but we are a local company, and that's what we're going to be. So thanks for the question. That's the difference as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Right.
One other quick
Go ahead,
question.
sir.
Cable service is very good and can be speedy. They also have shared bandwidth, so you can get congestion if you're in a large subdivision, depending on what they have in capacity on the back end of that. The other thing is cable is not symmetrical. So when you get cable service internet, it tends to be 100 megabit maybe download and 20 megabit upload. Or maybe if you buy the higher package, you might get gigabit download, and it's maybe 100 megabit upload. Fiber is symmetrical. It's the same speed in both directions. Depending on the type of work you're doing, the type of use of the internet, that can be important. It depends. So most people can tell a difference in the different types of internet service.
What else you got, Carl?
Right. Perfect. Yeah. So I had the cost written down here, and also I had the word weather down here. So fiber is not affected by weather, well, clouds and rain and all that stuff. Whereas satellites are. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, the low Earth orbit satellites have a little less susceptibility, but they still have some impact from weather. When it comes to fiber lines, a common question is, if my lights go out, does that mean my internet goes out? And the answer is most likely it doesn't mean your internet's out. If you have power to your router. If your lights are out, you're going to need a battery backup or a generator. But generally, the fiber is not affected, and the signal's still coming to your house. And we have a lot of folks nowadays who have generators or other things and use the internet throughout. Even if the line is torn down, the fiber is rarely damaged. It's a pretty hardy infrastructure, interestingly, even though it's glass. So
It's a pole and one more.
if you give me just one more minute, I'll tell you a story about back when we first started the project. And at Interstate 64, we had trees that knocked down the electric line across Interstate 64, and tractor and trailers were running. It was an ice storm. The fiber was down, and one of our contractors was living on the opposite side from where the signal was coming. And that morning, he typed me an email and said, lights are out, but the internet's flying. And that, it's a pretty hardy infrastructure. It can be damaged. There are occasions, but last year we had an outage that had 17,000 electric outages, and we had 850 people on fiber affected. So, in the same way.
All right.
Yep.
The only one
Well,
go ahead, Cardi. You'll be able to
no,
gain.
I was just going to say thank you. That answers my question. Thank you, Mr. Woodward.
Mhm.
The only one that y'all have mentioned in one of your talks was bird hunters are hard on fiber. And that's weird. We'll have to adjust.
And that's the key. Usually some people have a little habit that people don't know about, that they're shooting at birds that are sitting on electric lines. And if it's on the electric line,
I don't know those people.
it'll just ping off the line, and you shouldn't be doing it, but it doesn't knock the lights out. But if your bird shot goes through the glass,
You got problems.
we got problems.
Yep. Other question, Jonathan, you have anything down there? Yeah, absolutely. Thank you as always, gentlemen.
All right, thank you all. Thank you for your support and your patience, and we're moving as quick as we can.
All doing great. All right. Older Americans Month, or a month and proclamation. Ms. Rogers, come on up and talk to us, please. Yeah. No, I actually am looking at this differently. This is a resolution for all of us, because we all are older than we just were. So I appreciate that in every sense. Go ahead, Ms. Rogers.
Yeah, thank you for having me come this evening. Normally, Ellen Phipps, our executive director, is here. I'm the director of community engagement and have the privilege of leading the Aging Together county teams that meet monthly, including in Madison County, and also coming to this room once a month to the Madison United meeting that Valerie Ward leads. So it's a privilege to be here tonight. I wrote remarks because I decided if I just did a free flow here, I might take too much of your time. So just going to mention a couple of things. For almost 2 decades, Aging Together and its partners have been dedicated to improving the lives of older adults in this region. Madison County reaffirms this commitment with its 2025 proclamation, as it has done for several years now, officially recognizing May as Older Americans Month and celebrating the contributions of its over 5,500 older residents. This annual observance highlights the wisdom, experience, and engagement of older adults, underscoring their essential role in fostering strong and connected communities. And Madison County has worked together with us in multiple ways throughout the entire year, including the promotion of the Dementia Friendly Initiative here in Madison, and working with the Madison Aging Together County team, and highlighting the contributions of amazing citizens, such as Mr. Carlisle Weaver, this year's 5 over 50 honoree for Madison County. Another recent example of community collaboration is the partnership between Aging Together and the Madison Lions Club, which has launched a recent initiative providing accessible resource information to support older adults in Madison County. And that's in the form of this card, which we're distributing now in the county. And anyone who's interested in having copies and distributing them in your network, I'm more than happy to share those with you. The 2025 theme, Flip the Script on Aging, challenges stereotypes and misconceptions, inspiring individuals and communities to reconsider how aging is perceived and is discussed. We encourage all citizens to take a look at how we can remove any language and shared thinking, such as social media posts, that negatively affect older adults. The wisdom of our older citizens only comes with the years they have lived, allowing for the huge positive impact they make in our communities. Aging Together appreciates your commitment to strengthening your community, and we look forward to our continuing partnership with Madison County. Thank you.
Thank you. That's good. Are we still doing the 50 thing? Is that, I thought Ms. Phipps said she was kicking it up to like 65 or something.
That is true. That's happening in next calendar
Oh,
year.
good,
So this year, we're
good.
still 5 over 50.
Things are going to be looking better for all of us here this next year. Good. That's great.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Questions for Ms. Rogers?
I just want to, I say this to Ms. Phipps all the time, but compliment your organization. The resource packet that they provide us at least once a year during budget, it is probably the greatest resource that we can hand to citizens, whether they're social services or they show up at this building. So good job on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
What would y'all like to do with proclaiming Older Americans Month 2025 as this month?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve.
I second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 There you go. Thank you very much. Yeah, there is a lag, but we're waiting for. I'm glad to hear he voted for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should have made the motion probably.
That is correct. All right. Now we have a presentation from Navi. Thank you. Good. I've got it as Navi. That's what we're sticking with.
Well, that is the acronym. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm Claire Severi.
Yeah.
I'm the Commonwealth Attorney. And I'm here with Dawn Dela Cruz. She is our Victim Witness Program Director. And she's nervous, but I told her that y'all were only mean to me.
That's correct.
Not a good public speaker. She's better than she wants to.
Thank you for having us tonight. April is a very busy month when it comes to bringing awareness to community concerns that thrive in silence and the resources available to those who experience them. April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, so you see all the blue pinwheels down on Main Street. Sexual Assault Awareness Month, those are the teal ribbons that you see on Main Street as well. And this year, the week, April 6th through 12th, was National Crime Victims' Rights Week. And these awareness events allow us to raise our voices, reflect on the realities of the impact of these issues and the impact that crime has on our community. It's a time for recommitment to the work of prevention and support, understanding that awareness alone is not enough. It's when we do it, what we do as a community response that creates lasting change. The theme for this year's National Crime Victims' Rights Week was kinship. And kinship speaks to our shared humanity and how we can show up for each other. And this is especially true when it comes to victims and survivors. The importance of kinship in this context is it's a state of being with those that have been harmed and helping them find vital connections to services, rights, and healing. Victims and survivors often begin their healing journeys by turning to someone they trust, a friend, a coworker, or another survivor. By showing up with empathy and intention, we help them to see that they are not alone. Together, we can stand in kinship with victims, survivors to ensure no one walks their healing path alone. The Madison County Victim Witness Program, which is housed in the Commonwealth Attorney's Office.
On the front porch.
Yep. Beautiful view of the mountains, exists to ensure that victims and witnesses of criminal offenses receive fair and compassionate support as they navigate the criminal justice system. This includes referrals to community resources. In fiscal year 2024, the Madison County Victim Witness Program served 285 victims, 171 of which were new to the program, and that included 4 sexual assault victims and 36 victims of child abuse. We're 3 quarters into fiscal year 2025, and the program has served 228 victims, 153 of which are new to the program, to include 6 sexual assault victims and 20 victims of child abuse. Victims have rights, and more often than not, they are unaware of the rights afforded to them. In honor of kinship, today we wanted to highlight their right to be notified of the custody status for the person who harmed them. The following are the services available to victims of crime where they can sign up to receive notifications regarding offender custody, post-sentencing services, and information. Victims may register on their own or with the assistance of myself or the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. VINE is the nation's leading victim notification network. It allows survivors and victims of crime and other concerned citizens to access timely and reliable information about offenders of criminal cases in the U.S. You can search by state for an offender and register to receive automated notifications via email, text, or phone call, or check custody status information online at any time, free of charge. VINE is available in 48 states and covers 2,900 incarceration facilities. VINE is a life-saving service that offers peace of mind to millions of people every day. In Virginia, VINE only provides inmate notifications for those that are housed in local jails. So we have the Notification and Assistance for Victim Inclusion, also known as NAVI, is the system that the Virginia Department of Corrections uses to assist victims and survivors with inmate status, post-sentencing services, and information. Victims may use this portal to search for and create a request to receive notifications on inmates who perpetrated a crime against them if they're serving 12 months or more of incarceration and are under the supervision of the Virginia Department of Corrections. Victims can manage their profiles after their requests are processed. Based on the contact method choices made for their notification request, they can receive notifications by phone, text message, letter, email. Victims will get messages if the inmate has a major status change, such as but not limited to transfer, death, name change, and release. And then post-conviction notifications can be important to victims because of the criminal right of appeal. When a victim is registered for notifications through NAVI and a conviction is appealed, victims can receive in-depth information about what is being appealed and why. Additionally, victims of sexually violent predators can be kept informed about the location of their offender and receive safety planning services even when the offender is released many years after the conviction. NAVI is a cost-free service where victims can find helpful information, resources, and/or connect with victim services staff. And the NAVI website is accessible 24/7, 365 days a year. Victims and survivors deserve to feel safe, and it is their right to be informed. So when someone is harmed by a crime, the impact can be immediate and long-lasting, but knowing where to turn for support can make a big difference in their healing journey. Thank you for allowing us this time to share with you the importance of these services and the importance of kinship in relation to community safety. And if you want to learn more about victims' rights and the options, the resources available, and how you can help confidentially and compassionately, please reach out to our offices. And we have brochures for NAVI and VINE and Victim Witness in the back.
And so what's really important, and one of the things that we really want to stress, is that NAVI is available for folks who have been convicted years ago.
Right.
They updated the system. And so when they updated the system, it sounds like maybe some information might have gotten lost. And so if you or someone that you know was a victim or a witness and someone is serving a lengthy prison sentence, please encourage them to go ahead and sign up. That's how they're going to get notification if it's a pre-1997 case for parole, so that they can then be involved in the parole board process. It's how if they are released, they're on probation, they commit a probation violation, and they get reincarcerated, the victim can get notification of that as well, so that it's not something that stops right when the case ends. It's going to continue as long as that person has active involvement with the system. We have been able to use it to reach out to folks who have decades-old cases, folks that we think are going to get out soon, within the next few years, and we see them and we're like, hey, could you make sure you sign up for this? Finally, the VINE program is only for local jails. So if somebody is arrested on a DUI and they're booked into CBRJ, or they're arrested on a probation violation, but they're awaiting trial, they will be you can only find them through VINE. Now, the state knows that that's a problem, and they are working to marry the two systems. So the hope is that in the future, everybody will be on one database, but this is certainly a way for folks to feel a little bit safer that the person that they thought was going to be locked up. You know, we had calculations change for good time, and it went from 85 to 65 in a lot of cases. So someone who thought, I've got 8 years, suddenly has 6 years. And so it gives them some advance warning of when that person is going to be released, what they may need to do, what steps they might want to take. You know, we can get protective orders and those things, even post conviction. So, and I also really want to thank the county for their support of Dawn's position.
Yes, thank you.
Madison County is unique in that our victim witness program is fairly independent. Yes, Dawn is technically in my office, but she has her own budget, she does her own things, she has her own entrance to the office, she helps people that I have never met and will never even know exist. And that separates separation from us and from the sheriff's office, it allows folks who have been the victim of a crime but aren't yet ready to take the step into criminal prosecution, she can build that relationship so that when they are ready, they're able to see the process through. I was talking with someone today, and we were talking about a case where it's back and forth, and oh, but I love him, and they said, well, why are y'all even bothering? What are you doing? You know, if she doesn't care, why do you care? And the answer is, we're trying to prevent a murder. You know, we're trying to prevent further violence in our community, because the victim, you know, if I punched Dawn, yes, she's a victim, but so is everybody that witnesses the violence. And so that's why we do what we do, and we're just appreciative of the support we get. Mr. Jackson, you look perplexed.
Thank you.
No, this is, and I think, who was the person that was here that dealt with children victims? I thought we had somebody present on that a while back, and it's just,
Probably.
child advocacy.
Advocacy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, no, yeah, I remember sitting here during that, and sitting here now listening. I mean, it's such an important thing what you're doing, and it takes the right kind of person to do that job. And I could never imagine doing something like that. I mean, to help those people that are at their greatest time of need, and to get them so that they can get some help and some protection from people that have gone the wrong way against them. I mean, thank you for doing it. That's basically it. I mean, it's real heavy.
And it's a countywide effort, you know?
Yeah, it's a
We
big
have a
thing.
meeting later this week with the Health Department and Building and Zoning
Good.
about a family that we're worried about. So it's not just run-of-the-mill stuff. We're really here to kind of try to deal with what we have, to ensure that there's consequences, but ensure that things don't happen twice, as best we can. That's
And
our
they
goal.
don't need to be a victim of a crime, quote unquote, to come and see me and talk to me and find out what community resources are available. You know, if they just have questions, I'm happy to talk with them.
Anybody else have questions or comments? Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you
very
all.
much.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Fun. Now we get to tax rates. All right, public hearing on the proposed calendar year 25 tax rate. Mr. Weekly, please.
Still on looking at presentations. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You have been through many budget work sessions, which has led you to the public hearing tonight for the calendar year 2025 proposed tax rates. There's basically two changes that are being proposed. I will highlight those. What I mean by that, anything else is left unchanged. So personal property tax rate at $3.40 remains the same, and so forth and so forth. The first proposed change is under real estate. I want to be clear. I know the board understands this. I want to, speaking this more for public as well. The Board of Supervisors took action at their April 8th meeting to equalize the real estate tax rate. Initially, we were at 74 cents. There was a general countywide reassessment, which resulted in an equalized rate of 49 cents, and the board approved that action. Since then, before and even after that, the board's held multiple work sessions. You've looked at operations, you've looked at capital. We've talked about some debt financing potential. So we advertised a maximum up to 3 cent tax increase. Now, there's an ordinance provided in here based on your input from your last work session that has a lower value. I think that's 2 cent increase, but this is what we advertise. The second change, Kim, if you'll go to where it says 310, I'm going to ask for Mr. Daniel, if he doesn't mind, to pitch hint for me on this. He can give a good explanation. There is a change under code section. It currently is written as, when you go to the bottom of that paragraph, stay right there, please, is Virginia Code Section 58.1-3505. It currently has A 1 through 8 and 10. There's additional subsections there. And if you can pull up that other, the email that Mr. Daniel sent to give an explanation. So, Mr. Chairman, if it pleases the board, Mr. Daniel can speak to the significance of that proposed language.
Good to have you, Commissioner.
Sure, good afternoon. Yeah, with this code section, the reference to the state code there has been amended from previous ordinances that we've had due to a state code reference change. My assumption, or based on this change, we would not have any change in administration of farm use vehicles and trailers. If we left the code section as previously, it would now include exempting farm vehicles and farm trailers that are eligible to be titled or registered through DMV as being exempt. The way it was advertised and assumed that the board would not wish for not a change in the exemption. So that as advertised and presented, it results in a tax on farm vehicles, which is no change in what we've previously done.
Any question on that? I will hold Mr. Daniel for one more thing. Is there any questions for what he just covered?
All right.
Kim, can you go back to the advertisement? There was something that was added. I know I caught you, Mr. Buchanan, at the door, but I want to explain to everyone else. And I appreciate Mr. Daniel on this. We have recently learned there's what you want to call the exempt properties. Some folks call a reduction in revenue. Essentially what that is a listing of exempt properties and their assessed values. So when you go through the categories of federal government, state, regional, local, religious, charitable, education, and others, you can see that through those exemptions, the reduction in revenue, which is shortly over, or just over $2 million. This is actually required in the code to publish. I have not seen this in other counties till recently. Orange County posted it with, or publicized it with their tax rates. We added it this week because upon reading that code section, initially it looked like you were just required to publish it. So that means Mr. Daniel can print it and have it available at his office. But actually the code goes a little further and it says advertise with your tax rate. So this is the first year you're probably seeing that because it's the first year that I've seen it as well. But I think it puts it all in perspective, the challenges and the balances that Madison County government has to make when it comes to exemptions and setting their tax rate. So as required by code and for overall good information, we did include that in the packet as well as the advertisement with the public hearing. Mr. Daniel, did I miss anything on that or anything you'd like to convey?
No, again, this has been summarized annually for years. However, again, it does look like to be fully compliant with that code section. It does need to be advertised with the budget.
So we can go back to your overall tax rate schedule.
Mr. Daniel, the Supervisor Yao, I got one question.
Yes, sir.
On that chart. What is the definition of charitable?
I'd have to go back and look, but typically that would be like a Lions Club, VFWs, those type benevolent organizations.
But not necessarily just 501c3s.
No.
Okay.
It would be those benevolent organizations that are provided the exemption by the General Assembly prior to, I believe it's 2003, and which now that the right to provide that exemption has been passed on to the local board after whatever that date is. I think it's 2003, maybe more recent.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
The only side that's a little bit misleading about this is PILT, payment in lieu of taxes. Don't we receive something like $80,000 coming from the feds because of the park?
I think it's somewhere around 97,000 or to 100,000 for the acreage that's in Shenandoah National Park. We've had some good discussions, and I'll have to check with the state. So we do get PILT for the federal land. I'm not sure what the state statute allows for state, because we have a lot of state game land as well. So I'm not sure if, while we get PILT, if some of that land also is in those values. Mr. Daniel, you have maybe any comment on that?
I'm sorry.
So Mr. Jackson was referring to, it could be, the chart could be a little misleading because we do receive payment in lieu of taxes. That's what PILT stands for essentially Shenandoah National Park. And I think it's close to $100,000 a year. But anything else maybe related to Shenandoah National Park that we think could be in that?
No, I mean, the values could be built into, the buildings obviously up there. The land value, I think we've looked at that before. The PILT could potentially, if you were to provide, let's assume that, all of that is in forest land, and if it was equivalent to forest land, I think we've calculated it out before, and it's similar to, assuming all the park land is in the forestry land use program, it's similar to that. Obviously, there's infrastructure up there that's outside of that. But yeah.
All right, I just wanted to identify that there was there is a minimal amount of revenue coming in from the feds to offset slightly. Keep going, Jonathan, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Daniel. So going back to the advertisement, and this is your public hearing portion, outside of what Mr. Daniel just covered in the code language, really the value change proposed, you have an up to 3-cent increase, which is the 52 cent per hundred. Again, this is post equalization. So if you take it from 49 to 52, that's a 3 cent. There is an ordinance prepared after this. Of course, that's pending any public input and your considerations and decision. But based on the board's work session last Thursday, staff was advised that they wish to consider a 2 cent along with some debt servicing, which we will handle that at your budget public hearing. Well, in advance, but at your budget public hearing May 13th. So, Mr. Chairman, unless you have any questions, staff has no other comments.
Anybody from the board have comments or questions or thoughts before we turn to the public? It looks like it may not take too long. All right, to the public. You're not going to say anything, Joe May?
My question is, what in the hell are you going to do when we don't have a volunteer fire department anymore? Look at all the money and well spent for EMS. God, I can't imagine what union firefighters are going to cost this county in another 5 or 7 years. Yeah. And I just wonder how you guys are going to approach it. That's my comment.
Thank you. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, Madison Fire is one of Madison's greatest deals.
It is.
And they do an exceptional job. Other public comment. Is anybody commenting online, Federico? It looks like we have 3 people watching us, and one of them's Cardi, so we appreciate that.
And Miss Gardner is another
Miss
individual.
Gardner, well, that's good too. There's our internet side. Any other public comment? All right, back to the board. Comments or thoughts? Yes, sir.
There's an ordinance there, Mr. Chairman.
And this is just to rehash what we've already said. I know that there was a lot of work put into the budget, especially by the chairman. CIP budget's going line by line with the schools and the county. And it's actually a miracle that we pulled our projected spending increase from almost 10% down to 4.4, which is actually running under our last 4-year running average of about 5%. But, to address Mr. May, yes, that's why we have to get some tax base in. And some of the things that are coming down the road in the General Assembly in the future is not going to be helpful to the county taxpayers. I can assure you that. So,
Not with Spanberger winning.
but I mean, the 2% increase, I hate to raise taxes, period. But I think that at this point in time, our best bet to keep taxes lower in the long run is to take the 2 cents raise. And going back to the example that I had on that 1,300 square foot house, it's going to increase the taxes on that house by, if we go up to 50, we go up to 2. $91 a year. And there has been no increase in 4 years. So we're doing the best we can.
Mr. Chairman, after comment is done before a motion, I forgot, there is an additional information that we've shared with you all. We just got today. We can put it on the screen as well if you want perspective of tax rates for other counties. Would you like to look at that, sir, before your motion?
Put it up there, why not? There it is.
So the reason why this wasn't published, a lot of times we talk to our counterparts, whether it's myself or Ms. Warren, our finance director, and we when information is available, we'll put it out there. A lot of communities similar to us are later in their budget process, so some of this was just recent. We didn't have it for Thursday's meeting. So you can see in that chart the current calendar year, 2024, so everything's based on the calendar year regardless our budget's on the fiscal year. So you can see those current rates between Madison, Rappahannock, Orange, Green, and Culpeper. Now, it doesn't negate that we do not like to raise taxes here. I'm just food for information for folks. Then you have the equalized rate that was taking place amongst the counties. You have the advertised rate that's above. Of course, board's looking at a different action, maybe a potential 51 cents instead of 52. Personal property tax, which we are not touching this year. You may recall, I think 2 or 3 budget cycles ago, the board actually lowered it from $3.60 to $3, and then I think it went back up to 40 cents. So it's still lower than what it was, but lower substantially than others beyond Culpeper. Again, no change there, and then you can see the real estate combined rates for personal property tax and so forth. What's interesting that you don't see on this, and I shared with board members earlier, one of the updates that Ms. Warren, our finance director, got, Rappahannock County just had their public hearing on tax rates. And according to the information we got from Rappahannock, and not saying Madison County will do this, but the public input from the crowd was, we actually want to see more funding for schools. We want to see you go up another penny. And they're actually out re-advertising. I've never seen that in my local government tenure. I'm not suggesting it here, but it was very interesting. But you could see even against our neighbors in Rappahannock where we fare in rates. Again, that doesn't make it easier for those who are trying to make ends meet. It's just some perspective for the Board of Supervisors and the public when you're making these decisions, how do we stack up with surrounding counties? So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else? I don't think, it's interesting to look at the comparisons, but each county's got its individual items, problems, strengths and weaknesses. I'm gonna make the same one. I mean, everybody sitting on this board certainly, and then county staff, which has done 99% of the work on this in every way, and it found efficiencies, really trying to drill down on numbers to get rid of any kind of fluff, and it's just not there. People have been making the comment to me, and they say, wouldn't you like Doge to come to Madison? And yeah, come on. There's nothing there. I mean, we can cut $500. My running joke is we can cut $500 from transportation for a 501c3 that transports elderly people so they're not housebound. But that's about as far as our discretionary spending goes. We listen whenever there's economic development or businesses coming, we listen. Everybody appreciates the preservation of life or quality of life in Madison County. Unfortunately, to keep that, we're going to have to pay for it. And 51 cents is where we've come out. 51 cents or 51 per 100 is where we've come out. Thank you to Ms. Warren, Jonathan, everybody that has worked on it. Anybody else have anything? We do have an ordinance here, 2025-3. What would y'all like to do?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to motion that we pass ordinance 2025-3 to fix the tax rates for the tax year beginning January 1st, 2025.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Cardi.
Yeah, aye.
There you go. Thank you, Cardi. All right. All right, moving on. Old business, polling lease for Rose Park United Methodist Church. Mr. Weekly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I've been having some good dialogue between Mr. Wright, our county attorney, and Lauren Eanes, the registrar. Based on board's recent action, you held a public hearing for the consideration of moving a polling place and actually consolidating poll places, which that action you took. Therefore, the two polling places that were consolidated is Graves Mill and Wolftown. The new polling location will be known as the Graves Mill Wolftown Polling Precinct. Hannon had prepared a lease agreement. You have those polling precinct leases with your other polling locations, so that's kind of boilerplate at this point. The only thing worth noting is that Ms. Eanes has been working directly with Rose Park, trying to get a signature. We have not got that yet. We understand that they have received the lease agreement. Should you want to move forward, which I would highly recommend, they're on a timetable. I think it's a 30-day window before their election, so the primary counts as that closest election. So they need that in place soon. Staff recommendation is that the board authorize the county administrator to sign the polling precinct lease agreement.
Do I have any questions? Hannon, you're good with all this?
I am.
There you go. All right, what would you like to do with the lease agreement?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we authorize the county administrator to sign the polling precinct lease agreement contingent upon Rose Park United Methodist Church doing so.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, same sign.
Aye.
All right, speed zone, or school zone speed camera enforcement. Mr. Weekly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know this one has been back before you a few times. At the last Board of Supervisors meeting, the Sheriff Weaver gave a follow-up. I think one of the questions that board members had, as well as I think during your public hearing period a month ago, was what's the local impact? And with the sheriff, what that meant as far as speeding. And of the tickets cited, I think it was only like an 18% rate of those tickets were local. So it was primarily those who were speeding in the school zone were not local. Blue Line Solutions is the company who has cooperative procurement already in place. That is the company that has been here before you to talk about the program. Again, Sheriff Weaver has recommended this. The areas that he would like to have this implemented are in school zones. Initially, he has focused on the high school, so they're along 29, and I believe eventually could be over at Fairground Road. Those are the two areas that he viewed as problematic. We did speak with Blue Lines about if the county were to consider this, the signs on 29, I think there's only one remaining in the southbound lane. I don't know if someone took it out in an accident years ago, but it was never replaced. Those signs are really beyond life. I mean, they blink, I guess, when they need to be, but it doesn't have all the latest necessary features to do this program should you approve it. Therefore, Blue Line Solutions would take on the cost. I think it was a little over $60,000 for them to invest and put up the new signage. The way the contract works is out of the tickets cited, I believe they take a percentage of that. So I think if it's a $100 civil fine, I believe they take $25 of that. This does take a sworn-in officer. So someone at the sheriff's office who's sworn in, a constituted officer, has to review these videos to confirm it before this is turned over, gets prosecuted or heard at the court level. So again, you've seen the contract that has in place. I do want to point out again, the first year does not allow, I believe, for cancellation. It is a 3-year term. Anything beyond year one, if you canceled earlier, I think there's a pro rata. You have to pay for equipment and kind of that deferred funding, if you will. This is in place. A cooperative procurement contract is in place that could be modeled for Madison Hughes, which is between Wythe County. So contracts are usually written to allow others to ride that contract in the state of Virginia. So really, it's before you tonight, kind of as that final decision. Is this something that you'd like to support and move forward? If so, then Hannah and I will work together on a resolution to bring back to formally do this. It was a resolution or ordinance, Mr. Wright, one or the other.
We would have to do an ordinance at some point to set the fine because the state code gives you a range to do it, so.
So
we'd have
based
to have
on,
an ordinance.
thank you, sir. So based on what you decide tonight, if you were to decide to move forward, then that's what Hannah and I will work on, is to bring an ordinance before you. Because there is a code section that you have to cite all your civil fees and all that. That will require a public hearing to do that. So you're looking at a 30 to 60-day window based on you reviewing it first, letting us know, that's if you decide to move forward, letting us know if you like how the ordinance is written, and then we would advertise for your public hearing. That's all staff has, Mr. Chairman, unless you have questions for Hannah or myself.
Questions, comments, thoughts?
Mr. Weekly, and I don't recall this information or whether it was ever procured, but what's the experience with Greene County? Did they see a significant reduction in speeding incidents there, increase in safety? I mean, has anybody spoken directly to them?
I have spoken to Greene County. They use a different vendor, but they have seen a reduction. I think it's similar, which if you were to move forward, what you would see here, word of mouth gets around, which I guess that's not a bad thing because you're trying to decrease the speeding. But even though they're a different vendor, I can confirm their county administrator said there's been a reduction.
Please, Joe.
Just a quick question. If we were to approve this and it goes forward and we have an ordinance, you just can't willy-nilly start popping these cameras anywhere you want in the county, right? Is this
Correct.
just
The
a
state code allows 2 areas by state code. That's construction zones and that's school zones. So the sheriff is asking for school zones, and it would only be during, when you see the flashing lights, it's only during the, what I call the let in and let out period time of day. It wouldn't be all day long. But yes, sir, the code only allows specifically those 2 areas, construction zones, which we're not looking to do or asking you to do, and school zones.
There might be certain intersections, but I don't think the county's got any that qualify.
Correct.
I think it's 30 minutes in the morning and then 30 in the evening is what Blue Line was saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
is the sheriff there?
No.
No, sir. I spoke with the sheriff earlier today to see if he'd be here tonight. Basically, he was just reiterating, we need to slow traffic down. 29's a problem, definitely during the school hours. And he just wanted to reiterate the local citation versus non-local.
Okay.
Maybe I might, if you have a question, I'll try to answer it based on dialogue I have with him, but I certainly don't claim to speak for the sheriff.
Well, I guess my question, I mean, I'm in favor of this, but I mean, safety is paramount. And especially when we got the report as who's doing most of the speeding through there, so that's reassuring to me. But I just wonder, this is no cost to the county whatsoever, except for the sheriff's department that's got to review this stuff. And I just want to know if we've already got the bandwidth to do that, or is it going to require overtime on a deputy's part, or hiring another person, or whatever?
So it's my understanding, Supervisor, first off, very good question. The sheriff has not requested additional personnel. I have talked to my counterparts in Greene and Rappahannock. Again, they may be different vendors, but still the same idea of the program. They have not added staff at this time. Now, some of that could be based on obviously volume, but the sheriff did not indicate he would be requesting a new position to take on this task.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Other questions, thoughts? I don't think anybody's really that in favor of this, honestly. I think we think it's the best option that's presented to us for school safety. And that's that. Nobody wants a whole bunch of cameras all over the county. I think the judge's question asking where they go, I mean, I think it is 2 locations. And in front of this school doesn't count because it's already 25 miles per hour. That's what we've got. What would y'all like to do? You want to proceed and instruct Jonathan to create Jonathan and Hannah to create an ordinance, and then do the public hearing process to pursue this? I agree. let's go down that path, Jonathan, and that'll work.
Yes, and then just for Mr. Yow's concern, I think the only other one would there could be a slight uptick in the general district court and the clerk's office for people that want to try to come in and rebut, you know, the presumptions that are created by all this. So that's just one more, I'll say, externality that could be involved.
And we have asked the sheriff about it, and originally the comment was, oh, we're gonna need more people to review this. And then we kind of went the other way and said, we think we can do this within-house, so that's even better. Cardi, you want to pass this on to Hannon and Jonathan for the ordinance?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve going forward with the school's zone speed camera enforcement program and have staff go forward to draft an ordinance for the Board of Supervisors to look at on May 13th.
May I,
Yes, we're at discussion.
yeah,
Go.
thank you. I was just looking at the calendar, and I got a little ahead of myself on that recommended date. Cardi read what I put in there. I'd like to respectfully request that we bring this draft to you. I don't know if we'll have I guess we'll have the draft. We have the draft by the 13th. All right, then I stand corrected. That Mr. Yow's language is fine. What I do want to interject, though, is I would like to, based on your review on the 13th, I mean, you can decide that date if you want, is to set the public hearing for June 10th meeting. That'll give us enough time, once you review it, to get the advertisement out.
Yeah, you'll notice, Mr. Weekly, I did change the wording from act upon on the May the 13th to review.
Thank
For
you.
that very reason.
You want to do a public hearing on June 10th?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Any other discussion? Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose same sign.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you. He's all the way down in Etland. It takes a while to get here. Soon far from here.
The speed of light.
All right, let's go to Industrial Revitalization Fund, Kriglersville Elementary, Mr. Weekly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. And then we have Mr. Shapiro here present as well, if you have any questions for him. And I believe Ms. Gardner's online as well. So I appreciate, even though she's been traveling for Virginia Economic Development Partnership, I believe she's in Richmond, but she is online. We've had a few discussions. There's an Industrial Revitalization Fund or grant that's provided by Department of Community Housing and Development, DHCD. As you may recall, in prior board meetings, Mr. Shapiro had asked the county to apply for this grant. A local government can apply. It does not mean a local government is required to put forth any funding or be required to match any funding or be required, this isn't going to happen, but be required to supplant any funding should the applicant default on their note. We have that clarity directly from DHCD. Our county attorney has also spoken directly to them to assure that. So we feel confident in that. We did have a what I would call a staff meeting. We had some board members as well as Doug Parson, the treasurer of the IDA. DHCD was on that call as well to just kind of walk through who's best suited to administer the grant should the Board of Supervisors want to move forward. There's a resolution tonight, but should you want to move forward and actually submit the application. The IDA is one way to do it. Locus is a service provider of such loans as well. They've got experience with those type of loans, and it's a name that we got from DHCD. It's from that staff meeting to include the IDA treasurer, in my opinion as well, to not have the IDA or the county as any part administer or oversee the grant and/or loan that may be awarded should you move forward between Mr. Shapiro and DHCD. We believe that should be Locus, so that is staff's recommendation. So since that last meeting, I'm trying to get through all this Blue Line Solution stuff. Since that last meeting, we've had additional meetings to kind of look at the timeline that follows the grant application. The next step, which is before you tonight, is a resolution to consider. Basically, the resolution, it was a template provided by DHCD. In there, basically, the motion is asking you to authorize me to certify, if you pass this resolution, that the county does support this application. The resolution in the certification form would be entered into the grant application. The resolution that Ms. Turner has on the screen, it identifies that Madison County wishes to apply for $1 million of the IRF fund, or the Industrial Revitalization Funds, for redevelopment of Crickersville Elementary School, which is now the property of Crickersville Elementary School LLC. Also, it shall be noted, because this is stopgap funding, so it's stopgap, so DHCD's portion that he's applying for up to $1 million is stopgap funding. Mr. Shapiro, also known as Crickersville Elementary School LLC, is stating that he will be providing $1 million of matching fund also for that project. So it was required to name sources in that resolution. DHCD has seen this language. They are fine with this language. Therefore, is why this resolution is written as such and brought before you tonight. So should you, again, support the application submittal, you would need to do so via passing a resolution and authorizing me to certify. And then from there, we would move to do the grant application. The timeline is grant applications due the end of May, and then in June, they review these, and then between July and August, they make the award announcement. So that's kind of the steps. If you were to approve tonight, next step, Felix would need to get with Ms. Gardner. I believe she's provided dates for you to select from. There's a system called CAMS. I don't remember the acronym, but that's the portal where you do all the entry. Ms. Gardner has worked on that, so we will be ready when this is based on board action, but should they approve, we will be ready to have that meeting and submit that application with input from Mr. Shapiro. That's all staff has here tonight, unless you have any questions.
It has jumped up from 600 to $1 million, and what DHCD said was $1 million was the cap. Is that basically it? Felix, you have stuff to add?
Nothing to add other than to thank you all for your review and clarification. Yes, they raised the cap to $1 million and encouraged us to apply for the maximum amount.
Anybody have any questions for Felix, Jonathan, Hannon? I assume you're good on all this?
I am.
All right. I don't know. I see a little economic development in Madison. There you go. Good. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all very much.
What would y'all like to do with Resolution 2025-6?
Move to approve Resolution 2025-6.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Everyone votes aye. All right. Thank you, Felix.
Good luck.
Absolutely. Absolutely. New business. Ms. Turner, tell us about who we get to appoint to these, or reappoint to these boards.
So we spoke at the last meeting about the Building Code Board of Appeals. I've spoke to Mr. John Stamp. His term expired March 10th, 2025. He is willing to serve again. And I have a printed copy because I received it yesterday, so I didn't have time to put it in the packet, but you have that application and waiting for your direction there. And then we also received a letter, which I also printed, but it is in the packet, a letter from RSA, Rapidan Service Authority, notifying the board that Mr. P. Elliott's term on the Rapidan Service Authority will expire in June. And Mr. Elliott is eligible to serve again should the board would like to reappoint him. And I will point out, too, that the letter notified you that normally these are 4-year terms, but they're trying to realign the board's terms with the calendar year. So that will be a 3.5-year term rather than a 4-year term.
Did you talk to Mr. Stamp?
I did, and he actually came in person to do the application. He's a nice gentleman.
Real nice. That's exactly what I was going for. Real nice fellow. He seemed knowledgeable.
Seems knowledgeable.
That's the way to be. All right, and we now have his phone number. we've got Mr. Stamp for Building Code of Appeals and then Pete for RSA. What would y'all like to do?
Move to approve Mr. Stamp for Building Appeals and Pete Elliott for the RSA position.
A second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 There you go again. All right, anybody have anything we want to discuss? What about information and correspondence? I'm looking at you, but I'm hoping you don't have anything. All right, back to public comment. Back to public comment. How we doing? Nobody stuff? Yeah, consistent. All right, no closed session. What would y'all like to do? Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Good. Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Cardi. Thank y'all.
Yeah, I can drive my boats down on my tractor as fast as this.